Hello Stampers, my name is Linda Bedinger and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Denver, Colorado. I'm so glad you could join me today. I have a fun fold card for you that is a tri-panel and I was inspired by the last paper pumpkin that we had, where there was a large cutout on the front of the card and then scenes behind, and it opened twice before you got to the inside of the card. So I did my version of that and I made it a Christmas card, and I'm using the Whimsy and Wonder suite. Let's just get started. Okay, here is my card, and it is like I said, a tri-fold card. And so it says Merry Christmas, and then it's got this Whimsy and Wonder background paper on it. And I'm going to change that a little bit this time and make it a little different, because when I opened it and it had just the green around it, I thought I liked that look a little bit better. So this time I'm only putting this paper on this insert and not all the way around the edge. So there's my two Christmas trees there, and then you open it further and there's a couple more Christmas trees and a sentiment. And I did have to change my sentiment because right now I can't find my die that I did this one with. I had it a few minutes ago and it's just flat disappeared from my desk. So we'll be using a little different one for that. But that is the card. Let me tell you what you need. I used a piece of Mossy Meadow, and my piece of Mossy Meadow is 5.5 by 11. And then this first score mark here is at 4 inches, and the next score is at 8.25 inches. And that allows this to close like this, but with our panel put on here, you won't see this edge here. So let me tell you what else you need. You need a piece of basic white that's 4 by 5.25 for the inside of our card. You need a piece of this designer series paper, if you make it with this designer series paper, and this piece is 3 3/4 by 4.5, and it can be 3.5 by 4.5. All we're going to have it do is cut out a die here, and that's what we need it for. Then I have a piece of the scrap of Mossy Meadow, and this piece is 4.5 by 3, and that is to cut out these two trees. And this piece of paper that size allows you to, oh dear, now I've got things all tangled here. See if I can pull this apart. There we go. This size piece of paper allows you to use a die up and down on that piece of paper. It could be a little bit smaller, but that felt really comfortable for doing my die cutting. And so you need this piece, and again, that is 4.5 by 3, and something about that size, or two smaller pieces works. Then you need some scrap white to cut out, stamp and cut out these Christmas trees. Then I have a piece of this from the designer series paper pack, and this piece is 7 inches. Well, it doesn't have to be quite that long. Let's see, it is 2 inches wide. And then I'll show you the die that I'm using to cut the piece that gives me this garland on our piece here. So it really only needs to be about 4 inches long, but a piece of scrap like that. This piece is 5.25 by 2.5. And I did that to add a little different color paper, but still pick up the Mossy Meadow. And then this is the sentiment that I use, so you need a piece of scrap white to do that sentiment, and a piece of scrap white to do your Merry Christmas. Now, let me tell you what I used. I used the Whimsy and Wonder stamp set. Whimsical Trees is what it's called, and I used this stamp, and I used this stamp, and I used this stamp. Then in the dies, there's quite a few dies in this set. There's 13 dies. I used this one. That one cut out my my Christmas trees here. This one cut out my garland. This one cut out my design on the inside of the card. So I cut two of this tree, one for this side, one for here, and then for my sentiments, I did use the Stitched So Sweetly, the largest of the Stitched So Sweetly, to get this panel cut out of the front of the card. Then I used, the only other thing I used is I used the Merry Christmas from Perfectly Plaid. Right now it's my favorite Merry Christmas. So that is what I used. And let me show you, there's a lot of parts and pieces in this, but it's not a difficult card at all. Once you get your scoring done, what you're going to do is take your piece of designer series paper that is cut like this and set it on the front of the card. Then you're going to take your largest die and center that on this front panel. Until you're pretty sure, you can measure, you can do anything you want till you're pretty sure that that's going to cut open that square. And then what I did was then you can cut these together, but you do have to run it through a couple times. But you can cut this separately and center your die on this piece as well, and just run that through your die cutting machine. And then when you cut your piece out of here, it's going to match perfectly and fit right inside. And so what I did then was I glued those two pieces of paper together. And because they're cut with the same die, they match perfectly. And then I have put my seal on just half of this panel here, because what I want that to do is fit right back in here and glue down to that panel behind it. And this is just like a little puzzle piece. It should fit right in there, and then this opens up, and that's what you've got. So now this piece is sitting here, and it's got those two pieces, the piece that was cut out of here and the designer series paper, and I put my glue only on one half so we wouldn't see it through here. Now then, and I do think I like that a little bit better than having this designer series paper all the way over. Now, the other thing that I did was I did cut a piece just in case I needed it. And it's disappeared. Things are just disappearing right and left from my desk. So I need a piece that is 5.5 long by about 1/2 inch. So I'm going to cut my 1/2 inch strip, 1/2 inch by 5.5 inches, because I want it to go all the way down the front of that card. So right here at 5.5, and there I've got my piece. And when I decided to not cover this portion of the card with the designer series paper, then this looked a little funny to me. So I have my piece of designer series paper here, and I'm just going to add some glue, and I'm going to set that down right here along this edge. There, just like that. And so now what I see is this green left, and I think I do like that better. This got a little busy for me when I looked at it. So I think that's exactly right. So you also then need a piece that is 1/2 inch by 5.5 inches to get your piece for the side of your card here. All right, now on the inside, we need to add our piece of basic white. I don't know where my seal is either. I'm just losing everything today. Anyway, this is going to go right in here on the inside of our card, but you won't be able to see it because this piece fits right over the top. Now then, I took my pieces of Whisper White, and you needed at least one piece. And let's see, I've got my trees mounted, and I want to show you exactly what I did. So I used my Mossy Meadow to stamp my trees, and this is red rubber, so we don't need a cushion. So I had one going this way on our paper, and then I had one going this way on our paper. Now, the complementary colors with this designer series paper is all of these little dots and everything is polished pink. So I have my polished pink, and I'm going to use the other stamp that's in there, which is this little set of polka dots in the form of a tree. And when I set that carefully over my tree form, what I'm going to get is what looks like lights or ornaments on my tree. And don't worry about that edge, although if you're like me, I hate having those kinds of edges because this die cuts very, very close, so you won't see those things. Okay, so now I'm going to put this back in, try not to get those edges on this one, although like I said, it really doesn't matter. And just over stamp that. And then when you use your die, which is this die right here, I'll show you, when you put that in place, it cuts right to the edge of the tree. And that's because on these dies, the cutting blade is not right on the inside edge, but more in the middle, but closer to the inside edge. So it's going to cut that image out very, very closely. In fact, here are the two that I did. And I'm going to move this stuff back out of the way. And I have my two trees already cut. Now those pieces, I'm going to close this and keep closing it so I don't get it in the way. And on this one, I put one of the trees up a little bit and the other tree down towards the bottom a bit. And the only thing you have to watch is that you don't get outside the scallops or your door won't close properly here. You want to make sure that those are on the inside. So on that, oh, there's my tape runner. Good. All right, so on these, what I'm going to do is, and I did not raise these on dimensionals. There's so much going on in this card, I decided it really wasn't necessary, and so I decided not to do it. So I'm just adding some seal to my tree, and I'm going to set one of them, making careful not to go to the edge there, and more towards the top, getting that fairly straight. And then I'm going to add some more seal on this tree and set it over the top of the first one and down towards the bottom, being careful to stay within the rectangle here. And there we go. Now then, when I use this garland piece, that was when we needed a piece of, and if I get this not quite right, I will have everything listed below the video so you don't miss a thing. But this I thought was kind of fun, and I used my garland die cut on this piece of paper, and so you don't need a very big piece. I think I ended up cutting this 2 inches wide because that more than fits this on it. 2 inches wide, and then only about 4 or 5 inches long, and 4 is probably plenty. Now I'm going to set this on my silicone mat, and I'm going to add some dot runner. This one's a little tricky, so I'm adding it to all of the edges there, and I think by holding down several of these edges you can put some snail across several pieces, and then do the same by holding it down on the other side. It's a little tricky to get adhesive on. And a little delicate, so you want to be careful because you don't want it to tear either. To get some adhesive down, and then I can start putting this in place, and it's a little easier to manage. This piece of garland is too tall for our tree, so I'm going to cut it off. I remember now, it was just a little big, because it goes to the much larger tree in this die set. So now I can put this garland in place on my smaller tree and compress the pieces going back and forth until it fits on my tree. And there we go. There is my garland. It's kind of a little fussy, but I just love the effect of it. So I wanted to make sure I put some on here. There we go. You could use that trick with a sponge and a little bit of Tombow to also glue up the back of this so that it wouldn't be quite so challenging to put on your tree. But I'm perfectly happy with that. So now one of my trees has garland on it, and they both have the pink pieces. Now, my Merry Christmas. I have my Merry Christmas here, and for that I used the dies from the Stitched So Sweetly, and I used the second smallest of the dies to do my Merry Christmas and to do my die for the inside of the card. And what I did was I cut one out of white after I stamped my sentiment, which says, "Wishing you Christmas cheer and magical moments that last all year." And then I cut a second one in Mossy Meadow. I cut it in half and then separated it so I could get that same look of having this surrounded by the Mossy Meadow. So I'm going to set that one in place right here. And this one really does work. Probably should have used this one to begin with because the scallops match the scallops, and it just matches the whole thing. So there's that. Now, the last thing I did was, well, not the last thing. The next thing is to go ahead and put this on the front. And I'm going to show you a trick that I learned the other day. And it is when you have to put something in that you're only going to put adhesive on part of it. So I'm going to show you a little trick about how to decide where your adhesive goes. This is going to go right here. And so we know that if I turn this over, I only want a tiny bit of adhesive on this end, and then I only want it about one adhesive strip wide on the bottom. And sometimes by just turning it over, you can figure out exactly where it needs to go. So I need some on this edge here, and we know that's the skinny edge. So I'm just going to put a little bit, and then not quite a whole strip there along there, and that should be perfect. I should be able to put that in place comfortably and not have any adhesive showing on the other side. There we have that piece done. We have this piece done. And so we have these trees left to put on the inside. And we have our piece of designer series paper with the holly leaves on it. So that piece we're going to want to put on the inside of this flap. I like this design because it was trifold, but it didn't require a larger piece of paper or piecing pieces together. By doing it this way and adding the protruding pieces from the front, I was able to put this into place and still only use one piece of 8.5 by 11. Now, because it is cut 5 1/4, you can only get one card out of a piece of paper. But since you need these other pieces, like this and like these pieces and this, nothing really goes to waste. So now I'm going to put some adhesive on these trees and put those into place. And I'm putting one of them on this side and trying to get that relatively straight. There we go. And then I'm going to add a second one and put it right down here on this side of the paper. And there we go. There's our decorations for the inside and the outside. Now, bling. What I did was I used some of our in color rhinestones in the polished pink. And you'll notice that on this card, I put larger ones on the top here. I put one here. I was just trying to get some of that pink color everywhere, so I added some here and here. And you don't have to add that many. It's up to you, but you know, I'm kind of a bling girl. So I put a small one right here next to my Merry Christmas. Then I put a large one on the top of each of my trees here in the polished pink. And I don't know, you'll have to tell me what you think, but I think I like this one better when it doesn't have that designer series paper going all the way around the outside. I think it's much more polished looking when this is one of those times when I think less is more. So there, and then I dotted a couple of these things around on the card here, and I put them right next to the trees and just sort of, well, we'll put one up there. Okay, so there we go. That is our decoration for that first panel. I've got a flying piece of garland here, doesn't want to stay put. I'm gonna fix that. Okay, and then I've got my pink here on this panel, and then on the inside on this one I added a couple of the smaller pink to, I think I'm just going to add one on this side, and then I put a large one on the top of each of these trees here. There we go. All right. So that is my project for today. Thank you so much for stopping by my YouTube channel today. I do so appreciate it. Now you'll have to weigh in and tell me if you like the designer series paper all the way around this rim and then the plain piece showing, or the darker Mossy Meadow around here and the designer series paper showing only in the center and along the edge. I think I know which one I favor, but you'll have to tell me what you think. Anyway, I thought this was, it's different colors for Christmas, but I just love this set. I was really fearful that I wouldn't like the colors, but I really do, I have to say. And the polished pink and the Mossy Meadow go really well together. And then the holly leaves in this paper are also in the Mossy Meadow. So there we go. That is the two designs. You'll have to tell me which you like better. And actually, I think I like this label a little bit better because it matches the scallops on this one rather than introducing yet another shape over here. So that is it. Let's see, this is August. And so my prize for the month is going to be a $60 shopping spree on me, and all you need to do to put yourself in the drawing is to put an order of any size on my store, lbedinger.stampinup.net, and you can get to it through my blog, www.inkandingenuity.com. This is the launch of the new catalog and sale-abration. So there's all kinds of wonderful things in the new catalog that are available, and sale-abration, the free items, they're spectacular. This paper that you get free for a $50 order, and gosh, it is just gorgeous. So sparkly, and it's free for a $50 order. And that's just a wonderful, wonderful deal. So that is that one. And let's see, there's other things that you can get for free. This paper, which is the penguins, is just as cute as it can be if you have grandchildren or you want to make kids cards or just whimsical holiday cards. And there's a punch that is this penguin in the regular catalog that coordinates with this. And I think it punches out items right from the paper. So that's kind of fun. This one is just beautiful. It's called Feels Like Home. And it is one that can be colored. It's got a bicycle. It looks very European to me. A door, plant outside. Very, very pretty one. And that's free for a $50 order. And then this is a companion to hand penned, and it has black and white images of some of the hand penned images, and it's free for $50. This paper I'm in love with. This is the one I did my Tower Christmas pinwheel card the other day, and it's got just wonderful images and more traditional colors. It's just beautiful. And then there is a punch that cuts out the sort of leaping deer that you see here. And it just makes up all kinds of really beautiful things. These sheep and the sheep dies, let me show you the sheep first, and then the sheep dies, are each $50 order gets you either the stamp set or the dies. So $100 order, you can get both of them. And they're just as cute as they can be. This one is called Textures and Frames, and it's got all kinds of interesting textures to add for background or to frame a sentiment where you're stamping right on your DSP or right on your card. We don't have that kind of thing anyplace else. That's wonderful. $50 free. Then there's this Summer Shadow dies that coordinates with Shaded Summer Stamp Set. And it cuts out all of these beautiful flowers and then some of the images that you can stamp with the stamp set. And that one is free for a $100 order. This one is also a $100 order, and it's these They're called Delicate Dahlias. Anyway, those are the celebration items. And then this is the host set, and it's just full of sentiments. And you can get this with Stampin Rewards when your order's $150. And then this, the join offer this time. So you get your normal $125 worth of product for $99, which is a great deal anyway. And then through celebration, so August and September, you also get one of these, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, one of these 12 bundles free. And you know the cost of bundles. They're anywhere from $35 to $50. So you add that on to your $125 worth of product, and it's a pretty screaming deal for $99. Plus, joining my team, you join an absolutely fabulous group of people. And we work really hard at helping the demonstrators on my team be successful, whatever your definition of successful is. I don't push anything on anybody. I have many demonstrators that are what we call hobby demonstrators that have no intention of ever holding a class or doing a video. They just want the discounts, and they want to be part of a community. And we can definitely have that. And I have people that have YouTube channels and do blogs and all kinds of things. So we've got everything from sort of one end to the other. And I am very supportive of all of those options as people select what is going to make them happy about joining Stampin' Up. So that's it for me today. Thanks again for stopping by. And if you don't already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I'd love to be your demonstrator, or perhaps you could take a look at that join offer. In any case, I'll be back soon with more cards, more projects, and more tips. Bye!